award of final grades will be based on the moderated SBA and the multiple choice papers. During our grading process, CXC's quality assurance process will apply the appropriate weighting to ensure that candidates are treated fairly and in an unbiased manner. Exemptions to the aforementioned process, where candidates will be required to complete additional components, are as follows. For modern languages, Spanish, French, and Portuguese, human and social biology, visual arts will have additional components requirements as follows. 1. For CSEC, French, Portuguese, and Spanish, students are expected to write paper 1, paper 2, and paper 3, which are the oral examinations. For CSEC, human and social biology, candidates will be required to write paper 1 and paper 2. For CSEC, visual arts, students are expected to submit their SBA and reflective journals. For CAPE, French, and Spanish, students are expected to write paper 1, paper 2, and paper 3. And of course, school candidates submitting their SBAs. For private candidates, they are expected to write paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, as well as paper 4, 4-2 for private candidates. Those are the exemptions, or the exceptions rather, to the modified approach, where candidates will be expected to write additional components. In the process of administering these examinations, the e-testing modality will be employed. However, it will be applicable to those institutions or territories that are equipped to facilitate e-testing. In other words, they do have the infrastructure in place for e-testing to be administered. However, in territories where the infrastructure challenges are insurmountable, it is expected that those candidates will write the paper-based modality. In respect of health and safety, I want to point out that it is the number one priority of the Examinations Council to ensure the safety and well-being of stakeholders during these unprecedented times. All examination centers and invigilators will follow the guidelines of national health protocols as it relates to social distancing, the wearing of masks, and sanitization. Rest assured that as the management and staff of the Council continue to monitor the emerging situation, our first priority is health and well-being of all our stakeholders. We continue to work closely with our local registrars to ensure all the required systems are in place on the ground, and wherever there are challenges, we continue to overcome such with the required response to ensure that the solution does not disadvantage any stakeholder. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my opening statement, and I will now open the floor for questioning from the media at this time. I must say that joining me here today is our Director of Operations, Mrs. Nicole Manning, and our Senior Manager for Exam Administration and Security, Ms. Diane Medford. And they will assist me in responding to the question. I must also say, joining you in the Zoom meeting room, we also have Dr. Carl Granston, who is the Pro Registrar and based in Jamaica, as well as Mr. Rodney Payne, our Director for Technological Innovation. Mrs. Armstrong Muller, our Director for Corporate Services. So those persons are with me to assist in responding to your queries and concerns. At this time, Mr. Richard Rose will monitor the questions and concerns that you have for us to address. Richard, can you now moderate that session for me as it relates to questions?
Thank you, Dr. Wesley. The process we will now follow is by using on the Zoom technology, raising your hand, and then we will identify the person and call them by name. The floor is now open for questions. Thank you. Julian Neves.
Yes. Newsday, are you hearing me?
Just identify which media house you're from.
Yes, Julian Neves from Newsday. You're hearing me, Registrar and officials? Hello? Oh, I don't think they're hearing me.
Go ahead, we're hearing you.
You hear me? Okay. Yes, Registrar. You mentioned that there were some territories which will most likely who may have to use the paper-based modality. What do we have an idea which territories that could be at this point?
Most of those. Dan, will you be able to respond to that? Would you? We don't know yet. We just know. Okay. All right. Several would have indicated their ability to do so, but we have not gotten all the responses yet. But there are a couple territories that have already indicated their desire to move with the e-testing. But the process, though, in any one territory, you can have both modalities being utilized. Chronicle, that was from Guyana, the Chronicle.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Tamika Garnett, and as Dr. Wesley mentioned, please identify your media house. Thank you. Tamika Garnett, can you kindly unmute your mic? Okay, let's move on to Jordana Murphy.
Yes, Jordana Murphy here from the Gleaner Company. I'd like to know if the Jamaican government has changed its position on the hosting of exams in July.
Thanks for that question. We are unable to speak at this moment on the decision of the Jamaican government.
So, Dr. Wesley, the question from Tamika is a follow-up to Julian's question. Can you say which are the countries that have identified that they can accommodate e-testing?
Okay, can you do that?
We have information on some of the countries at this time. We know that, for example, Dominica has indicated that they will be doing that. There are people in Anguilla. Anguilla has been, over the years, following total e-testing where possible, but we are awaiting information from other territories.
BVI does. BVA does it, huh?
Pravasha TV6. So if the person from Pravasha TV6 can just give your name.
Good afternoon, Urvashi from CCN TV6 in Trinidad. So my question is, there was, just to let you know, there was a letter to the editor written by an educator, teacher. It appeared in the Express newspaper today, where this geography teacher for 30 years, she expressed some concerns. Her concerns with the exams would be that it's difficult for students to shift into exam mode in just this space of time. 1. 2, she spoke about the psychology of the students, like some of them may be affected with parents or relatives affected with COVID-19, persons close to them who may have died, relatives stranded abroad in cruise ships, etc. Those 2 concerns. And the 3rd concern she had was that as a teacher of geography, she says she cannot conceive an examination that tests senior pupils simply on multiple choice. Can you please address those 3 concerns?
Okay, so thank you very much for that question. To address the last question first, it is the determination of the student's performance is not only on the multiple choice examination, there is also the SBA component that would be required. We would have done extensive analysis in ensuring that we are able to cover all the necessary skills and competencies, and where we were unable to assess those, additional components would have been required. So it is not just the multiple choice, but it is important to note that the SBA is also one of the modalities for assessing those critical skills and competencies. As to the time frame, we are cognizant of the fact that the COVID-19 situation would be having an impact on students' readiness, but we also recognize, so in recognition of that, if you notice, the paper 2 would not be offered at this time as well, which should be a reduced level of anxiety on the students and prolonged exposure within a space for any health issues to arise. As it relates to the 3rd point, so that was the coverage, the health issue, the readiness, the state of readiness, and there was a 3rd point.
The psychology.
Those were the concerns.
The psychology of the students disproportionately affected by, relatives being stranded abroad, even the economics of it, parents now unemployed, just affected by being in a pandemic.
Yes, and we are very much cognizant of that and recognize, and that's the complexity of the issues that we had to balance in making a determination, because that's not the only issue, while it is a significant one, but we had to balance the many factors one had to give consideration to. So we are not denying that it is likely to have an impact, but we are minimizing as much as possible that impact.
Thank you for that question. And Siobhan Campbell from Nationwide News is asking if the territory has stated its inability to meet a July date, what arrangements will be made in such a case?
Within the context of the Caribbean Examination Council, we operate within a regional construct. And that regional construct would see all ministries of education and all relevant personnel come together to make a decision. All of those concerns would have been taken into consideration, and where countries would have indicated serious challenges as it relates to COVID-19, then of course bilateral talks can be held as indicated in the press release from COSAD.
Jennifer Richardson, Agency for Public Information.